You guys have been real patient.
Ginger Runner.
What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner, here for another gingerrunner.com review where you get to see unbiased, honest reviews. I lay it all out there. Today is no exception. We are going to review a shoe today that you've been asking for a long time. It's actually been on the market now for quite a while. I just needed to do my due diligence to make sure I put enough miles in this shoe, enough hardcore miles to really form the opinions that I needed to for today's review. So, without further ado, let's get on with the review of the Hoka One One Challenger ATR 3. Yes, they're back to One One. I'm just going to call them Hoka. Alright, as many of you might remember, I have reviewed the two previous versions of this shoe. The first version of the Challenger ATR, which I'm calling the All-Terrain Rascal, was one of my favorite trail shoes in 2015. I actually ran a large portion of my 100-mile Cascade Crest that year in that shoe. Loved it, had its issues, but it certainly was an awesome trail shoe for long endurance events, ultramarathons, and the like. Then version 2 came along and there was a couple of issues with it that I had. It was a fine follow-up to the first version, but it certainly was a step backwards, no pun intended, in the sense that it lost a bit of the volume inside the shoe, a bit stiffer, durability hadn't been improved. So that brings us now to version 3, which just by the look of it, you'd think it looks very similar to version 2, and even in the heft and weight department as well. But they've made some changes. The upper is a little bit different. The midsole design has been kind of redone in hopes of creating a better running experience compared to version 2. Does it live up to the hype? Is version 3 finally the version that makes me oh so happy? You and my new Ginger Floof are going to find out today in this review. Let's get on with the things that I like and dislike about the Hoka Challenger All-Terrain Rascal version 3, starting with things that I like. Cushion. As always, one of my top likes with Hoka shoes is just the level of cushioning. Cushioning in the ATR 3 is no exception. It's certainly a soft plush material when it needs to be, but can also be responsive when it needs to be as well. It's a good mix. Closer to version 2's midsole material as opposed to version 1, which I felt was much softer, but would flatten out prematurely. Solid shoe for long runs and ultra marathons on the trail. Volume. Yep. They have improved the volume in the upper of this shoe compared to version 2. Version 1 I didn't really have a problem with. I felt that the upper kind of adapted to your foot, broke in, a little bit more width and stretch. Version 2 was much stiffer in the sense that it didn't allow your foot to really expand. There wasn't a lot of width up there in the toe box, but volume-wise also was a bit restrictive. Version 3 finally finds a nice balance between providing your foot with enough volume around the area of the mid and forefoot. So it's nice to see that Hoka listened to a lot of the feedback that they were getting on version 2 and they incorporated that in version 3. So that's a good thing. And finally, durability. I'm going to say it's improved. In my experience with this shoe, and I have a lot of miles in all sorts of terrain and weather conditions, and I can't see any holes or seam pulls or anything like that, which is not what I expected based off of many of your emails and feedback of your experiences in the Challenger ATR 3 over the last couple of months. It seems like a lot of you have had issues with durability. I can't say that I have. But even my wife, who also reviewed the ATR 3, has had issues with durability. So I'm going to put it as a plus because I feel like it's improved over the previous version. But you'll see why I'll also include it as a dislike in just a second. You can even go back and watch my Ginger Bits episodes where I was on tour across the Southeast, up in Northern California through storms and everything. I was wearing these shoes and they still smell like they smelled in those videos. So have a lot of miles, a lot of wear in them. Now I think it's time to move on to things that I dislike about the All-Terrain Rascal 3. Heavy. These shoes have gained a bit of weight, and that sucks because each version so far of the Challenger ATR has seemingly gained weight. Version 1 was a nice lightweight trail shoe. Version 2 gained some weight, it was just over 10 ounces. These are close to 11 ounces in my size 11. I will make note that they are covered in dirt and probably some soiled grit and grime from a lot of my trail shoes, so even if you add a half an ounce just for that, it's still heavier than version 2. I'd really like it to either stay the same weight or get lighter again. One of the things I really loved about version 1. Durability. As I mentioned, I have very limited issues with version 3 thus far, and I have over 100 miles in them compared to the previous versions where I was breaking through those things pretty early. I haven't yet in these. My left shoe is holding up well, my right shoe a little bit less so, but I'm still pretty happy with that. Keeping it as a dislike as well, purely because of the number of you who have reached out specifically with pictures and feedback and stories of your experience in the Challenger ATR 3, which resulted in breakthroughs, holes, seam splaying, all that sort of thing. And, of course, my long legs, my wife, her experience in her version. She has a review, which I will link to right there if you'd like to go watch her version. So I don't know what's going on with durability, but I will keep it as both a like and dislike because I think it's improved, but I also still think it's a problem. And finally, width. Yeah, I like the volume in the shoe. It's better than version 2. I still think in the width department we can improve upon that. Most of the Hokas that I've been running in lately have a width issue, and I'm not the only one that says so. Doesn't bother me too bad in long runs. I feel like my feet have really kind of adapted to the more narrow platform, but it would be awesome if they could just give us a bit more width in that forefoot. Improve the width in addition to the volume, which they seem to be working on already. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for dislikes. Challenger ATR 3 still remains one of my top trail shoes. I took this on all my trips this year so far, ran in it in all conditions. I really still enjoy it. It's a great bang for your buck if you're looking for something that's not only cushion, but also has a good outsole and grip in various conditions. Drains well, is comfortable, all the good stuff. It helps look past some of the negatives, I guess. All right, so let's get on with the points with this bad boy. Quality, I'm gonna stick with the 4 out of 5. Durability issues aside, they're at least trying to improve upon it. I feel like they know there's a problem and they're trying to fix it. Comfort, they continue with the 4 out of 5 for me. I think it's a super comfortable shoe. If they improve the width just a little bit, a couple millimeters might give you a little bit more volume and width. Price at 130 bucks. Not bad, 4 out of 5. And finally, looks, I will give it 4 out of 5, though borderline 3 out of 5, because this is the best looking version in men's right now. The other two versions are pretty plain. I'm so used to version 1 being really exciting, cool looking shoe. I wish they would go back to that. But I'll still give it 4 out of 5. That brings our grand total to 16 out of 20. Nice, solid, consistent score in a review where scores really don't matter. That finally brings us to a buy, try, or a why. I will definitely push this towards a buy, purely because it's a shoe that I love to put miles in. I've had not many issues with it when I do run long distances in it. It's a good shoe. If you haven't already tried it, definitely check it out. If you have tried it or tried the previous versions, you should definitely look into version 3. I think it's a good improvement. If you can find version 1s, man, snag those things. And that, my friends, is it for today's review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, favorite, and subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/thegingerrunner. 2 new videos every single week. And look at all this fancy stuff right there. Social media. It's a cool thing. Go follow me across that. If you want to help the channel stick around and videos come out regularly, please visit patreon.com/thegingerrunner. It keeps this whole thing happening. And that, my friends, is it for today's review. I hope you're getting out there training hard, racing harder, and partying the hardest. I know I am. We'll see you guys next week for more. Oh, there's some exciting stuff coming up. I can't. Yeah, I won't. You guys, we'll see you on the flip side. Bye!